Tonight, the war of words between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto continues as the salvos enter a too familiar territory of resignation and threats of impeachment. Kenyatta says his deputy and anyone in the government who is not satisfied with the government should resign. His deputy insists he will not resign and that there is no contest between him and the president. Tonight on Pandit's Night, we make sense of the growing rift, the BBI document and the bill plus 2022 politics. Good evening, I'm Abubakar Abdullahi. Welcome to the broadcast. As always, your voice matters, so does your opinion counts. Keep talking to us. Send us a message on 22047. The hashtag to use is Pandit's Night TV47. Let me introduce my guests tonight. Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, Caleb Amisi is Saboti lawmaker, Herman Manyora is our resident analyst. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you all for making time for us tonight on TV47.
Good evening.
All right, Mheshimiwa Samson Cherargei, let me start with you for obvious reasons. A colleague of the nation has lost a long-serving public servant, a colleague of yours in the Senate. What are your thoughts in as far as the late Senator Yusuf Haji is concerned?
Thank you, Abubakar, and Happy New Year, and good to see you this year. First and foremost, I want to take this opportunity on my own behalf, on behalf of my family, on behalf of the people of County of Nandi, to pass my deepest condolences for the untimely demise of my brother, friend, and colleague, Senator Yusuf Haji. I know he was also a long-serving career public administrator, having served in a larger Rift Valley province. One issue I can say about Senator Haji is that when we were together in the Senate, you can imagine the age difference that we had, but he was very respectful. He was a wise man. He had measured words. He was a strict disciplinarian, but very humble. I can recall one incident, and you remember, I can just use this example so that our viewers can understand how humble he was. I remember when senators were arrested and the minister in charge of Interior did appear, and you remember media were locked out. I remember inside that meeting, we clashed, and it was a heated argument because we thought under the law, the media any proceedings of parliament should be open. And he was very firm. He dressed us down, but later in the day before we started the afternoon session, he came to me and Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. and many senators who were disappointed, and we had heated argument and apologized. We were surprised because that such a person shows a lot of humility. So my condolences to the family. We'll miss him. He was a father figure in the Senate. He was a man who was straight talking. He was a government man. He was eloquent. And I remember if you wanted to cross his path, you try and antagonize in what he believes in. If he believed in something when he was conversing on the floor of the House, you could always, and his presence was ever felt. And you know also, he was a chairman, he was our chair, or he was the immediate chair of National Security and Foreign Relations and Defense Industry.
All right, Mheshimiwa, let me give the co-panelists as well a chance to say one or two words in relation to the late Senator Yusuf Haji. Mheshimiwa Caleb Amisi.
Yeah, thank you for having me today. I also want to join my colleagues in the Senate, passing my profound condolences to this the family of the late Haji. I think we remember him, those of us who believe in progressive leadership, we remember him as being the chairman who spearheaded the handshake through the Building Bridges initiative. He was the chairman of the task force, and together with other Kenyans, they did a fantastic work, and they have brought us to where we are. So he has died having left a very big mark to this country as far as leadership is concerned.
All right, Mheshimiwa, let me bring in Herman Manyora, our resident analyst as well. Herman, your 2 cents and thoughts.
Condolences to the Haji family, Nuruddin Haji, and the rest of them, to Kenyans, to senators. This was a career public servant. Very few people will give all their life to serve the people. I don't think he has lived any life after age like 20 or so when he became an adult. He has not lived any other life. He could have chosen to enjoy his property, look after his camel, but here is a man who gave all his life to the service of Kenyans. We will miss him.
All right, gentlemen, let's get to the topic of the day. Let's make sense of the politics of the country now. And Mheshimiwa Samson Cherargei, President Uhuru Kenyatta says, and I quote, "If you are praising it," in reference to the government, "stay in. If you are dissatisfied, get out." Are you dissatisfied with the government?
I don't know why President Uhuru Kenyatta did make such comments at that point in time. I don't know, because he's frustrated that he has abandoned his Big Four agenda. You remember when he was elected in 2017 for the second term, there was a legacy project through the Big Four agenda. And I think the president is frustrated on his own because he has failed to deliver for Kenyans. And I think all of us who are in Jubilee have always, it's not even about resigning or not. We have always just been raising questions of performance of the government, just like any other legislator, just like any other individuals, because in as much as we are members of Jubilee or the ruling party, we have a right, or just like any other Kenyan, to demand for service. And I think
all right, Mheshimiwa, let me interject you at that point. You say he has failed. You make reference to the president. For purpose of clarity, you are making reference to the presidency, of which the deputy and the head are also part of, or the president, hence Uhuru Kenyatta?
I am referring to President Uhuru Kenyatta, that he has failed to deliver as the president. I'm not referring to presidents, because you know very well that since the beginning of the second term and the advent of handshake, His Excellency Deputy President Dr. William Ruto has been sidelined in the functional. And even you remember at the earlier 2019, I don't know, Executive Order number 1, where the issues of national governments and coordination of government functions and projects was given to the Minister in charge of Interior. So the Deputy President has not been in the party or been in the game since the re-election of 2017. So President Kenyatta has failed.
Mheshimiwa, you will understand legally he is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Hence, any rating, any judgment will be based on the duo. You can't single-handedly point to the president, can you?
You must understand the Constitution that he is the principal assistant.
All right.
The Deputy President does not have functions of his own unless and until delegated by the President, which has not happened.
All right. Let me bring in Mheshimiwa Caleb Amisi to the discussion. The President continues saying that how many governments do we have? Moja ama mbili. It is one. If you want to enjoy its goodies, remain. If you mention its faults, quit. Leave others contented with the government to continue its governance. It seems as though there are two strings being pulled from one government, and there are two sides clearly.
I think as a country, we are going through quite unprecedented times. We've never had a democracy like this. We've never had a nation at a time like this. If you look at our neighbors, Uganda, you will know all about Museveni, and you'll never know his assistant. You look at Tanzania, you'll know about Magufuli, but you never know whether he has a deputy or whether there is a prime minister or not. You look at Rwanda, the same. Even US recently. It is until recently that we knew that Donald Trump had a deputy president. But here in Kenya, the deputy president is more pronounced than the president. All through for the last 7 years that they have served together.
In which way do you say he is more pronounced than the president?
He is more pronounced because he's ever on the campaign trail. Whatever he's campaigned for, we don't know. Is more pronounced because he's always blowing hot and cold. He's one day he's on the government, the other day he's not in the government. And I think we owe it to Kenyan. These two individuals were elected together as a couple on the ballot, and they were supposed to deliver to Kenyans together. We never had two presidential ballots. It was only one.
Caleb, Caleb, let me interject you at that point. You say he is campaigning. It's the president who is on record saying huyu kijana in reference to the deputy president anatangatanga hapa angalie miradi. It is the president who talked about that.
I think you got the president wrongly. The president he was actually lamenting that one of his partner has jumped into a campaign trail prematurely. And you know, those people have watched Prison Break. I don't know how many people watch movies. But in Prison Break, there is a prison in Panama where when there is a pandemonium, there is a chaos, and the two people are deemed to have caused the chaos, or they're at loggerheads. They simply put it together and they fight until one of them dies. So that's how you win that kind of contest. Now, in our case, I think we have a contest whereby the president and the deputy president are fighting politically until one of them dies politically. And this is a contest that we are going to witness all through until 2022. It is quite unfortunate for our country. I knew Jubilee was bad, but I never knew it was this bad.
Amisi, you say there is a contest. You say there is a contest between the deputy president and the president. The president himself is on record saying, once my term ends in 2022, he said he has no interest of clinching into power.
Yeah, and I think that should have signaled his deputy to stay easy, because his boss is going. I think he could have benefited out of his boss. You remember the current president of United States, Joe Biden, was so quietly, humbly, performing behind his boss. And when his boss retired, he also went quietly retired. He came back, he bounced back. The boss was so gracious to support him. And I think the deputy president could have gotten a lot of support, even from some of us. He did just treated this leadership in a very different way. And if there is, fair enough. And just to finish, if there is something that it is so dire that he cannot resist, fighting the government, then it is just good to get out, resign. It will not be the first person.
We'll come to that question of resignation or an impeachment or stay as a third option later on. But let me bring in our resident analyst, Herman Manyora, to the discussion. Herman, if there was ever a doubt of the disquiet in the ruling Jubilee Party, is this the clearest indication that the end politically is not far from sight?
Well, that's right, but not necessarily far from sight. It's already with us. It has been with us. Jubilee ceased to exist quite a while back. The relationship between Uhuru and Ruto came to an end a way back. But people are good at denying. People are always want to wait until it's so clear. For some of us, it was always clear. We saw it. And it was something you would always understand. After the handshake, it would have taken a very strong deputy president to really understand what was going on. I don't think Ruto was that kind of person. And therefore, you can see the shenanigans. I must just mention that I think Deputy President William Ruto and President Uhuru Kenyatta must save Kenyans the embarrassment that we are going through. You cannot have a country worth talking about where the president and the deputy president are behaving the way they are behaving honestly. You see, there's something in leadership. It is called decision making. You must be a person who can make a decision. If you are waiting to be shown the door, assuming even the president had the power as in the old constitution, he didn't have to tell you go for you to see. There is something like constructive dismissal. So I think these two gentlemen owe it to Kenyans to show some good manners. And I think if they can't resolve their differences, it shouldn't play at the national stage. It should have been something the two of them would have sat down, agreed to disagree, and perhaps something would have come out instead of playing in the public space.
All right, Herman, you talk of...
we are feeling injured, yeah.
Herman, you talk of good manners. Does this politically include agreeing as a two?
Yeah, you know, good manners, you see, good manners doesn't mean people must always agree. Sometimes you can disagree. But you see, the president, and I've said this repeatedly, Abubakar, if you remember, the presidency has a president and a deputy president. Even when there was a vice president, in any country, I have said this, it is a unique situation in which a deputy finds themselves. Whether they are deputy governors, they are vice president or deputy, whenever you are a deputy in a situation such as a political situation of running a government or a country, you must accept that the deputy president has no role other than to deputize. And the only time you'll come on the scene is when space has been created for you. And our constitution is very clear on that. Meaning, the two cannot at the same time be running the government. You get it?
All right. And
if there's a difference, and you are saying we shall come to this later, whenever there are differences that cannot be handled by the two of them, they owe it to Kenyans and to our children to show them good manners by doing that which shows that they are leaders. And this is what's lacking for now.
All right, Samson Cherargei, Senator, the president also says we need to either work together or not. If they feel that the government is favorable to them, then they should work with us. But if they disassociate themselves, then let them resign. Is it an option?
Maybe before I answer your question, I'm surprised and perturbed by my brother Caleb by saying that he didn't know that Jubilee was like this. I thought they have been the ones who have been defending the President Light Register Center, and they are in deep of government. So I think Caleb should if you want, you choose either you want to be part of government or you don't want to be. And I think the options are very limited. Secondly, Abubakar, is that no one is resigning, because you remember President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President Dr. William Ruto were elected on a joint ticket. And Kenyans have never told Deputy President Dr. William Ruto to resign. How can he resign yet he was elected by Kenyans? So it is not an option. What we are saying is very simple. The Deputy President is going nowhere because Kenyans elected him. It is Kenyans who will either remove him or otherwise. But as things stand now, he enjoys the mandate of millions of Kenya who voted for him and President Uhuru Kenyatta. And that is why in the previous constitution, those powers were held by the president, as my brother Manyora has said. Those are things that the president would have hired his vice president. But under the new dispensation, the new constitution, we have a deputy president who is jointly elected by the president. So I can assure you it is not an option. Dr. William Ruto will serve his 5 years term as the deputy president as elected and enjoys the will and support of Kenyans that was given, and that mandate can only be given through an election that was done in 2017.
You say he will serve his 5-year term. He will serve his 5-year term despite publicly disagreeing with the president, faulting the very same government he is the second in command?
But I dare you or anybody else to produce a clip where Deputy President Dr. William Ruto has either insulted, ridiculed, or criticized the president directly. I think what the Deputy President has been calling upon, for example, the agencies that fight corruption, that they should desist from being weaponized or being used politically to fight political wars. There is no day Dr. William Ruto has even, and he said the other day in Isiolo County, I don't know whether you come from that county, he said very well that Uhuru Kenyatta is not his competitor. And he respects his boss, Uhuru Kenyatta. And he has said as much that he's not his competitor. He said he respects him. So I have never seen anywhere where the deputy president has either directly, anyway, in any form, disrespected the president. You saw even in Kisii was there to introduce him, to welcome him, to make remarks. You saw him even in Langata Cemetery. So what I can say, there are people who are dissatisfied, especially these proponents of handshake, led by Raila Odinga, who are always uncomfortable with Dr. William Ruto being in government. And that is their prayer is to try and force out or even force the president to bring an impeachment. You remember the people who have been pushing for impeachment proceedings against the deputy president.
All right, Mheshimiwa, let me
people who come from particular agenda, just like
fair enough.
I believe that part so that I don't
Cherargei, you've made your point. Let me bring in Caleb, who wants to react to what you're saying. Caleb, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, it is quite absurd for somebody to say that because deputy president is visiting Langata Cemetery and then is working for the country, that the only way that the deputy president is working is when they meet in the funerals. That is quite absurd. And I don't know, my good friend Charegai, you know, is a Nandi senator. And you can never know from which side he's talking, maybe on top of a tree or inside the forest. He doesn't know that I'm a member of ODM. I'm not a member of Jubilee. We just came in to rescue a capsizing boat. This is a boat that was capsizing, and we came in as Kenyans of goodwill. But it seems you cannot help. So I think it is a sinking ship. We've tried all our best we could, because these are our fellow Kenyans. We thought we could be able to salvage them, but it's quite unfortunate that it was already a sunk ship. And I think it is a high time as leaders we need to be honest. If you are told to mention a few deputy governors, do you even have one in mind? You don't. Nobody knows any 47 deputy governors unless you come from that county. That is how the constitution was choreographed, to have a mandate of a boss and his deputy. It was not choreographed to have a contest or between the boss and his deputy, whereby the boss is doing this, the deputy is doing this.
Caleb, let me ask you this. You have no problem of a deputy launching development projects, do you?
He doesn't have a development project to launch.
If he's launching on behalf of the government, do you have a problem with
He has never been given any mandate by anybody, because whatever he launches, it never takes, nothing takes, he comes and launch ghost projects. There is nothing governmental that is launching. All the projects that have been launched by Deputy President have always been relaunched again by either Matiang'i or the President himself. So these are just political gimmicks using in pretext that is launching projects.
All right. Samson, I'll give you a chance to react to what Caleb has said. But Caleb, let me ask you this. In your response, you say you came to a party that was sinking. It was a rescue mission.
We didn't come to party. We are a member of ODM. We love this country. We wouldn't like a leadership that drops down our country. You came to rescue our nation. And we have not in any given time announced that we've joined Jubilee. All
right. And that rescue mission, I suppose, was through the handshake and hence the BBI, isn't it?
Thank you.
How far is that rescue mission?
I think the rescue mission will end at the referendum, because we have means and ways of trying to salvage back our country, and some of those points that were put in the BBI report and are now subject to a referendum, the referendum process, where now is before the county assemblies. And we are sure, and trust me, even our colleagues who are in the other side, called Tangatanga, they all support. They're just looking for a leeway of trying to propagate their own narrative. But they all, when you meet them in corridors, they say it is a good document. That's why they're even talking about multiple questions. You cannot talk about multiple questions of something you are rejecting. They are accepting. They're just trying to find something to run away with.
Fair enough. Let me bring in Herman Manyora. Herman, you have heard of rescues and missions that were aimed at salvaging one that seemingly is to some bearing fruits.
You see, the whole thing is difficult to talk about. And because I've said it so many times, I find it difficult. We have a difficult situation in the country because, and as a senior citizen, I must tell Kenyans, so that we shall use these things tomorrow and 20, 50, 100 years to come. You must understand the position of a deputy president. And if you understand it, everything falls into place. What is the defining qualification of a deputy president? It is loyalty. Loyalty. If a deputy president ceases to be loyal to the president, that position becomes untenable. Loyalty. The deputy president must be loyal to the president. Today is William Ruto. Tomorrow it will be Abubakari, somebody else. As you become a deputy governor, and I've seen some deputy governors getting it wrong, The moment somebody wanted me to be his running mate, I told him I can't. Because loyalty also means, for lack of a better word, you must sometimes be a fool. In other words, if you see things and you cannot correct them in a private session with a boss, it stops there. If there's something you disagree with the governor and you are the deputy governor, you talk it out in some private corner somewhere or in his office. If you fail to convince him, you keep your loyalty, you keep it to yourself. If it is too much and you can no longer bear it, you just have to step out. That is how it is. Number two, another example. This is why we are getting confused. Look at Prince Charles of the UK. The mother is queen. She's very old. Do you hear Prince Charles interfering with matters of the monarchy? No. The prince does not at any one time interfere with the kingdom. And if you look at history, whenever they have attempted to do that, they have the crown prince has always been removed and another brother or somebody put there, because it's not, it can't work like that. I've given another example, which is the last one I want to give, and which deputy governors and deputy presidents must understand. You are like a spare wheel. A vehicle, a normal vehicle, has 4 wheels at any one time, but there is one in the boot or somewhere, which you can only put in when one of the 4 wheels is either has a puncture. That is the situation of the deputy president, and you must understand it.
All right.
If you don't understand it, then you are going to get yourself into a lot of trouble. Let me finish this so that Kenyans can understand. The main reason why they put somebody deputy there, or a crown prince or something like that, is because we are all human beings. In the event of death, or in a capacity to lead the monarch, or the kingdom, or whatever it is, or the country, there must be somebody to step in immediately. Because government is not something you can wait even for a minute before having a success.
All right, Herman,
and that's why even our courts get it wrong.
All right, Herman,
let me just finish this, please, a minute, because this is important to
Go ahead.
Giving me half a second. Because this is important to the country. That's why even our judiciary gets it wrong. The moment a governor ceases to be governor, the deputy governor ought to take over immediately. And the courts should not entertain issues that will delay that immediate filling of the position. It is in the nature of government that such vacuums are dangerous. And if you look at history, whenever there were vacuums in kingdoms and chieftains, there are always problems in those kingdoms. We must understand that deputy president is deputy courtesy of loyalty and nothing else. Otherwise, you will continue having this kind of shenanigans you have.
And Herman, I've given you more than enough time to explain the role of the deputy. And let me ask you this.
I have finished.
All right. Inquisitively, let me ask you this. If these are 2 gentlemen who came seeking the votes of Kenyans, and they came to the table equally with a political muscle, and given that this is not a political appointment, how then should a DP or a second in command balance his interest and loyalty?
It is simple. I'm saying the deputy president is chosen on the basis of loyalty. Even if you are bringing votes, we had a unique situation where 2 gentlemen were coming as if they were equal, and that's where the problem is coming from. But as far as statesman is concerned, as far as government is concerned, as far as the constitution is concerned, they are not partners, they are not equal. There is only one president with a deputy president. Underline the word loyalty. Loyal to the president. It does not matter how many votes you brought. Yes.
All right.
You are not partners.
We will continue with the discussion. Herman, you as the viewer as well, your opinion counts, your voice matters. Keep talking to us. The hashtag to use is Pandits Night TV47. And evidently on your screen, we have some breaking news. And Bonchari, Member of Parliament, John Oyeka has died. MP Oro died at Aga Khan Hospital in Kisumu, where he was undergoing treatment. He is the second parliamentarian to die today after Garissa Senator Yusuf Haji. We have some breaking news for you tonight. A Bonchari lawmaker has died, making him the second lawmaker to die today following the death of Yusuf Haji, Garissa Senator. Just a reminder that Bonchari MP John Oro has died. The lawmaker died at Aga Khan Hospital in Kisumu, where he was undergoing treatment. He's the second parliamentarian to die today after Garissa Senator Yusuf Haji. Let's get back to our discussion. Mheshimiwa Samson Cherargei, Haman talks of loyalty, which he cites as a needful, useful element. Should one be the deputy of the other? Your reaction?
I think, I don't know why my panelists have a problem when you have a deputy who is known or who Kenyans know, be it a deputy governor or a deputy president. I don't know whether that should be an offense, because they are making it believe that being known more than your boss is an offense. I find no place in such argument. Number two is that the deputy president has been loyal. You remember in 2002 when President Uhuru Kenyatta lost election to then Mwai Kibaki after NAC came into power, the only person who stood with President Uhuru Kenyatta and then in 2002 was William Ruto, and then he was member of parliament of Eldoret North. So if you talk about loyalty, there has been no one who has been more loyal to Uhuru Kenyatta more than Dr. William Ruto, and he has shown through action and even spoken words. And I've just referred you to the speech that he made recently in Isiolo County, where he said he respects his boss. He is not a competitor. They are not competing for anything, and he will respect him up to the last moment. I don't know. And you know, if the deputy president was even uncomfortable or disappointed or with what President Uhuru was doing, you remember the executive order number 1 that was being issued that the Minister of Interior should now be in charge of government projects. The deputy president didn't find an offense. He has always said, let us support the president to deliver on the Big Four agenda. But because our brothers from ODM came and hijacked our president, hijacked our agenda, they gave him BPI, they gave him handshake. Now the president is frustrated because he is realizing that 18 months to go, he has never delivered on his legacy projects. And that is where the frustration of the president is coming from.
Cherargei, let me interject you at that point. You twice make reference to what the DP said in Isiolo, and let me read the full statement of what he said. He said, and I quote, that there is absolutely no contest between my boss and I. He says, I respect the decision of His Excellency the President, and the President calls the shot. He is in charge and he takes all decisions. I have not countermanded any decision. Given that publicly he gave his reservations to the darling of the president in reference to the BBI, will you say he's still loyal?
I don't know. As much as a member of Jubilee, I know the darling of the president is the Big Four agenda, the project that we had as a government. But the deputy president has not opposed. I can confirm to you that the deputy president has not opposed the BBI, but he had made reservations that the document, there are issues that he agrees with. He did make in BBI when they are launching in Bombers 1. He said there are some issues that he had reservations with. And he has said, even then, you want us to go for referendum. He has requested, just like all of us, even the referendum bill that is coming before the National Assembly tomorrow, one of the provisions has included that, that we need to include in that provision of the law that the referendum questions must come in multiple, so that Kenyans can cherry pick or choose and pick what they think is sweet for the country, what is sweet for the economy. And the reservation that the Deputy President did express as an individual and as the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. So there is no way that, and the decision that the President has made, and you know President Uhuru Kenyatta has never come publicly. I saw the PS in charge of Interior, Karanja Kibicho, over the weekend saying in some news outlets that if you are opposing BBI, you are an enemy of the President. I think what we are saying is that the issue of constitutional reforms and the process is so sacred and so sacrosanct that we don't need to reduce it to individual contest. We need to engage all Kenyans regardless of who they are.
All right.
So there's no way that the Deputy President has countermanded any decision that the President has made, including what I've given you an example, where the coordination of government functions were given to somebody else.
All right, Mheshimiwa Caleb Misi, let me bring you to the discussion. You talked of a rescue mission. Cherargei talks of ODM wrecking the party in reference to Jubilee. And these are sentiments that the DP also shared some times back, pointing fingers at your party.
Yeah, and then I think Kenyans should quickly make ODM the government, because it seems it is a powerful force that can go into any government that be and wreck it from within. They shouldn't be blaming ODM for all their woes, because I think they have the mandate of the Kenyans. They were elected to deliver without any interference and without any excuses. But I think the deputy has broken the first rule of power. And you know, power does not exist in vacuum. Power has rules, power has laws. And the first law of power is never outshine your master. And that is the first law that the deputy president has broken, is outshining him. He has been doing so, and he continues outshining him. You can even break the last law, but not the first law. That is the basic fabric of power. And that's where all hell has broken loose. And this is what has brought us to all this stalemate. We are in a quagmire that we've never witnessed in this country, that two individuals that are supposed to be at the highest helm of leadership are in constant quarrel. They are stuck in a constant quarrel that we do not even understand. And they are not ready to make peace. They are not willing to face each other. They are not willing to tell Kenyans that this is where the trouble is. None of them is willing to even resign.
But Caleb, given that some date back the handshake as though it was the genesis of the disquiet in the Jubilee party, and understanding that the handshake was between your party leader Raila Amolo Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta, you don't buy that?
Yeah, but what is a handshake? I mean, leaders have been making peace with other leaders from time immemorial. It is not something unique to Kenya. Everywhere, leaders make peace. Leaders who have been at a constant loggerheads, they come together, they make peace, and they move on. It has never been a cause of alarm to for nationalhood. I mean, we are not forcing to make a Nusumukate government. We've only said that can we sort out issues that we think affect our country as a whole, whether you are a Jubilee government or as in opposition, we are all Kenyans, and we believe that if we put our efforts together, we are able to change one or two things that we could have otherwise not been able to change, each one of us.
And
so I think it was just a goodwill.
Let me ask you this. Is that change coming at the expense of the political bickering in the president's party?
Yeah, we never told them to, to start political bickering. We never instigated any bickering. It is something that probably it is a forced marriage that I've been living in.
All right.
And because now they have just gotten an opportunity to express their stress in that marriage, and they are using handshake, they are using BBI, they are using us, ODM, just a scapegoat. We are just a decoy, but there are much deeper issues that they know themselves. But I think they should know this is not their country. This is a country for 47 million Kenyans. We are not here to watch people fight for the next 5 years or 3 years. We are here to get the services. We demand services as much as we never voted for them. We demand services because we are taxpayers.
All right, Herman, at the heart of this full-blown disquiet in the ruling party is succession politics come 2022, when President Kenyatta's term constitutionally ends. The president says that he will not leave the country to thieves, and it's upon his discretion that he has not mentioned who those thieves are. First, given then that there is succession politics of who will replace the president once his term comes to an end, is it not a case that if the deputy wants to be the president come 2022, he stands a chance to some?
Come again, I didn't hear the very last bit of your question.
To some, the deputy stands a chance of replacing the president. Probably he may be too early for that.
Yes. Well, the deputy president has never made it a secret. It has always been on the cards that he wants to replace Uhuru Kenyatta in 2022. And he has said it time without number. It is his constitutional right. We will all have to accept that until the handshake happened, he was all but assured of ascendance to the throne. The handshake threw spanner into the works. It messed his chances. And that explains the way he has been fighting. Before I complete answering your question, allow me to help Cherargei, Senator of Nandi, my neighboring county. You see, when you say the deputy president does not respect the president, does not say bad things about the president, surely the things William Ruto has said about BBI, the things William Ruto has said about the referendum bill, the things William Ruto has said about the handshake, surely they cannot come from a person who respects the president. Many times he has tried to direct it to Raila Odinga. But honestly, for obvious reasons, it doesn't really hold. It can't be Raila Odinga, it is his boss. So you don't need to say, Uhuru, you are a fool for it to be so. If you say, like somebody has just said a short while ago, that Uhuru has been held hostage, for example. Uhuru is doing bad things. Uhuru has forgotten the big four. He's now beholden to the BBI. And Ruto says, we have been told to stop big four and now to chase this animal called... What more disrespect are you looking for? What more lack of loyalty and respect are you looking for? So it's always there. But then it is his right, like I've said, he's going for the presidency. If you asked me, like perhaps you're asking, he may be doing it well, he may be increasing his chances, but the likelihood of him messing the game for himself are very high. Because really, if you antagonize the president, if you antagonize the system, your chances of success in a setup such as ours are highly compromised. No wonder people like Daniel Arap Moi acted like they were complete fools. Reading completely from the book Caleb Amisi is talking about, the loss of power, where you are there but you are not there. You are present but nobody can see you. People who approach politics that way, more often than not, become successful in succeeding their bosses. But anybody who shows their hand, especially early, I heard Gideon Moi say something. He doesn't look like a big politician. One day he said, I think he was in Migori, in a reference to Tanga Tanga. Sasa guitar wanaweka tune tu na mnaanza kucheza. When the dance itself starts, you'll be tired. So there is a plus in putting your foot down if you are William Ruto, in the sense that the handshake has come to finish you. So that there is a plus I can understand. But the manner he has gone about it, in my view, is more self-destructing than anything else. So you can start early like he has started, but the politics is a game. You are the people you are competing or you are going against are watching you. So you reveal who you are so early that they are prepared for you. And at the right time, they will hit you. So,
all right, Caleb.
Can I...
Cherargei, go on.
What I wanted to tell Caleb, Caleb is very interesting. He's just being mischievous because, as you are aware, he's saying ODM is not part of government. All the committee chairs, including the chair of finance and planning, the women rep of Home of Bay, most committee chairs, even where I was the chair of legal, has been taken by ODM. So let ODM, they need now to choose. I think they have realized, as he has said, that this ship is so sinking so fast with them that they need to get out. Secondly, I want to say, when you look at 48 Laws of Power, I've read the book Robert Greene. I think what Aman Manyora is referring is neither here nor there, because you remember there was a man called Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. In 2007, he went into post-coalition agreement. He decided to become the vice president. He was very loyal. But when the time came for Kibaki to make a decision who to be his successor, Kibaki went quiet. And Stephen Kalonzo disappeared up to today. Until now, he calls himself Mutu ya Mkono ya Rais. So I can tell you, in Kenyan politics, the way it has been crafted, and to achieve 50+1, Caleb and Aman cannot lie to Kenyans that you will not go to negotiation table with your running mate who comes with political muscle to negotiate on the sharing of government, unless you change the constitution. But as long as it's 50+1, any person who comes to board as a running mate, and I know Aman supports Raila Odinga. If, for example, Raila Odinga will run as the president, any person who he runs with as a running mate must bring a political muscle that will be used. And you know that is very important.
Fair enough, Cherargei. Let me ask you this, and Herman will tell us whom he supports. He has a freedom to tell us or to fail to do that.
Raila was launching this book, so he supported.
Cherargei, let me ask you this. We have seen the president. He has been at least consistent. He's not shifting the blame to an outsider or an incomer. The deputy president shifts the blame to ODM as though it is ODM that has misguided Jubilee, which is wrong, is it?
No, I think you are misguiding yourself in that question.
How?
Because what we are saying, Abubakar, is that the deputy president was just sounding an alarm bell that since the advent of the handshake, the priority of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta has been the Big Four agenda. But even the BBI and handshake was to come along the 9 points. We should have also by now have achieved some milestones within the Big Four agenda, which are the legacy projects of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Because as a supporter of Jubilee and somebody who voted for President Uhuru Kenyatta, I want President Uhuru Kenyatta to succeed in implementing his development legacy projects before he goes home.
But he is not shifting projects. Cherargei, the president is not shifting blame to anyone, whether the failures or the lack of it.
But Abubakar, you have to notice that of late the president is so frustrated and desperate. He's not shifting blame to anybody because he knows the mess we are seeing in Jubilee and failure to deliver for Kenyans in the agreement, the covenant they had with Kenyans when they resist and the boycott of the secondary and of the presidential election. He has realized that time is running up. He is the one who has messed up everything, and therefore that is why you see him is having erratic. Whenever President Uhuru Kenyatta speaks nowadays, he's so bitter, he's so angry, he's anagombanisha everybody. So it shows that he's desperate because he has realized time is running up, yet he has never delivered on the promises that he gave to Kenyans.
All right, Caleb, you want to react to that? Go ahead.
You know, Cherargei is a lawyer, and if you leave him too much leeway to talk, he can easily mislead people because he can convince you. He can convince you that the devil we've been castigating is actually the savior. That's how lawyers are trained to do. So don't give him too much time.
I'm equally giving all of you a chance to respond to each other by asking questions.
Yes, because one of the lies is put into Kenyans is that part of the ODM members are in leadership of parliament. He knows, and being a lawyer, he should know how parliamentary committee leaderships are chosen. The members elect their leaders. Membership or chairmanship of parliamentary committee leaders are not selected by the President Uhuru Kenyatta. This is a member's affair. Members elect, and if they elect an ODM, so be it. If they elect a Jubilee, so be it. If an ODM was chosen to be a cabinet secretary in the Jubilee government, then we'll be talking about a different scenario altogether. So that is a lie that should not give him more leeway to continue propagating to Kenyans. Then number two, also my good friend should just face the nation. Do not pretend to be given us your strategy, because you are actually, the more he speaks, the more he gives us why they are campaigning. That they want to come with a bigger force, a bargaining power to the table. Really, that's the reason why Deputy President has been going around the country for all the 3 years or 4 years, so that he can come up with a bigger bargaining power to the negotiating table. I think first he should have convinced Kenyans that when you elected me as a deputy president, this is what I was able to do. Then Kenyans will be able to elect you or give you even more power based on what you've done. They have assessed in you. You are in leadership right now is not from the bush. He is not fighting from guerrilla war that is now coming from the forest saying, now I want to be leader. You are actually in top leadership. You should actually be using the 5 years to do work. Because even me as a member of parliament of Saboti, I'm struggling to do change so that the next term, I can ask people that when you elected me the first term, I was able to do 1, 2, 3 things. But if I go in the first term and I start campaigning for the second term, then what will I use to convince Kenyans? So where we are, the deputy president has nothing to show for the 7 years he has served in the government other than wheelbarrow.
All right, and you say the deputy president has nothing to show.
Absolutely nothing.
Fair enough. Does the Jubilee government have anything to show in your own personal opinion?
We are going to assess Jubilee government as a whole.
So far, is there anything to show and smile about?
There is nothing to show about Jubilee government. I've said that from the onset. I think these are individuals who took power without knowing what they want to do for this country. And that's why they are running helter-skelter with that power, not knowing what to do. But these
are the very same individuals. You are in a more covenant political relationship.
We are not in a coalition with anybody. I do not believe as an ODM we've been called anywhere and told that we are now in a coalition. What we are doing, we've asked the Jubilee government to come and sit down with our opposition so that we can be able to correct things that ails our country together.
And are you correct in that, given that you are saying there is nothing to
we are correcting as a uniformity through BBI. So it's not that we are working for Jubilee government.
All right.
We've just come in to say, as a nation, let's have a national discourse as the people of this country. As much as we are in opposing camp, whether we'll join them or they will join us, it will be a matter of national conversation next year, not now.
And when you say there is nothing to show about, is that not a harsh judgment?
It is, and let them swallow it, because that is the reality. It shows the laptop they talked about, where are they? Where the stadium they talked about, where are they? Anything in their manifesto that they have been able to achieve. Show us. Let us also be realistic to Kenyans. In fact, we should criminalize manifestos. That if you come as a presidential candidate and lie to Kenya and promise, and you don't be able to commit to those promises, you should be jailed.
All right, let me bring in Herman to the discussion. Herman, Caleb talks about the Jubilee government, and to him there is nothing that government has done. At the end of the day, will the judgment that Kenyans will make based on the Jubilee government also have an ODM paper on it to say that they were part of it?
Well, there's some facts you can't escape. One, that definitely when Jubilee takes the blame, and I don't agree with Caleb that they have done nothing, the fact that we are living here, we are talking here peacefully, is testimony to the fact that there's a government, the government is working, it's providing us with security. I earn a salary from the exchequer, Caliber and the Cheregai earn salary from, so the government is functional. You cannot say government is doing nothing and government is paying you. If government was doing nothing, they wouldn't be paying you a salary. You wouldn't be secure where you are. TV47 wouldn't be operational. So there's much government has done, but there's a lot government ought to do. Yeah. I find it really interesting.
I think, the professor,
so the blame definitely will be there, and it will go to.
It seems to be getting it wrong.
All right.
I think
Caleb says you are getting something wrong. Caleb, go ahead.
Yeah, Professor.
Maybe I finish, then he comes in.
Yes, no, my good friend, Professor, I think you are getting wrong. I did not say the government is not functioning. I said the Jubilee government has failed. As a Jubilee manifestos they promised to Kenyans, not a government. A government is an institution that cannot fail. Whether there is a Jubilee, there is ODM, a government is working throughout. Even during election time, government is working. Thank you.
Thank you. What we have is a Jubilee administration. We have a Jubilee government. It is Uhuru Kenyatta who is the president of this country. Many countries have collapsed in the hands of of presidents. So what I'm trying to underscore is that there is a government in place. And that government is headed by Jubilee, is run by Jubilee, headed by Uhuru Kenyatta. There is so much they have to do. There's so much they have not done. But there's so much they have done also. So let's not debate about that. It was a question of whether the blame will be shared by ODM. Certainly, many Kenyans believe the moment Raila entered into the handshake, they lost their savior. Kenyans believe they lost the man who would always question government. To that extent, if some of the failure is as a result of the lack of somebody to point out the Eurobonds, the tunnels of death, etc., and the corruption, then yes, that failure ODM will share because they abdicated their responsibility. But somebody will equally argue, kwani ni lazima Raila peke yake aongea? There was Mudavadi, why didn't Mudavadi take over? There was Kalonzo, why didn't they take over? Equally and more important is that there's no way William Samoei Ruto will escape the blame. If Kenyans will blame Jubilee for failure, just as ODM and Raila will take part of that blame, William Samoei Ruto will not escape the blame at all. And that's why some of us were giving him the option of resigning. It is only when you leave government that you would not take a share of the blame. You say, ladies and gentlemen, my countrymen, I saw this going wrong. I tried to convince my boss, who is your president. He has completely become adamant about listening to things, changing things. I think I cannot work with an administration that is failing Kenyans so spectacularly. And for that reason, I, William Samoei Ruto, I resign from government.
All right.
That's the only way, that's the only time people will take you serious. But you will not escape blame if you remain, like Cherargei says, until 2022.
All right, and Herman, quite a number of times on this specific show, you have talked about urging the DP to resign. You said that is the honorable thing to do. And given that according to Samson Cherargei, is not on the table, what of impeachment, Herman? Is it a far-fetched idea?
No. Impeachment, I have said this again. Let me say this, especially to my friend Cherargei. I wish somebody could fix the echo but let me just continue.
Go ahead.
First of all, even when you have the numbers, in any democracy, nobody wants to hear about an impeachment. It's a bad thing. You never bring it next to you for many reasons. Let me just bring one. The time that impeachment is being tabled, you may not know what you would have done to people who have always been with you. And that would make them now support your opponent. You may never know. Something small could happen. And people feel they have to desert you. Secondly, this is Africa and this is Kenya. We know how things work. Don't play with an impeachment. But now to the reality. I do not agree with Cherargei and his team when they say Uhuru and Raila don't have the numbers. My friend, the numbers are there. On the contrary, it is these gentlemen who do not have the numbers. They talk of the numbers, yet when you are impeaching Waititu, they can't save him. When you are impeaching Sonko, they can't save my friend. When they are kicking Kangata out of leadership, they can't save him. Then one is left wondering, where are these numbers? Let me tell you this. If Uhuru and Raila look for the numbers to impeach William Samoei Ruto, take it from me, they will get the numbers. Take it from me, the numbers will be there. They will come and you'll wonder. Just ask yourself, all these things that are happening within the Jubilee Party, within the National Assembly and Senate, how are they able to manipulate those numbers? My friend, the kind of force a man who sits in State House carries with him, backed by the most influential politician in the country. When they begin to play the chess, my friend Cherargei, you'll be shocked. 233 is not even anything. But finally, because I can see maybe I may not have another chance to talk about impeachment, give me a minute. Who tells you if Uhuru wants to impeach Ruto, it will come in the manner you think? That one day they will wake up and roll an impeachment motion? No, these are seasoned politicians. They will have to calculate. By the time they bring the impeachment motion, they will have done proper groundwork. And let me give you a shocker, Gerald Gay. Uhuru can dissolve parliament tomorrow. There is an advisory he's sitting on. Supposing he dissolves parliament tomorrow, all of you go home. Do you know the next parliament that will come, what it will look like? And it immediately it comes in, he brings the impeachment motion. Please, do not play with somebody who holds power. A man holding power like Uhuru Kenyatta, especially in a third world country. Even in America, you saw how much power was able to help Trump. With all the problems he was facing, never, ever, and I'm advising Tanga, don't you play with a man holding power.
All right.
Because you'll play things at his own.
Fair enough, Herman.
If Uhuru dissolves parliament today, what will you do, Gerald Gay? You may not come back.
And you talk of the Supreme Court advisory.
A good example.
Herman, you talk of the Supreme Court. Herman, you talk of the Supreme Court advisory of
Abu Bakr.
Yes.
Abu Bakr, please. Abu Bakr.
Yes.
Abu Bakr of Maraga. Listen, it is there, he's sitting on it. It's a weapon he can use. And let me tell you finally, so that your guy can get this. If parliament were dissolved, all those Jubilee MPs in Western Province, for example, in Mulembe Nation, Kina Didimas Barasa, maybe Didimas is popular, he could come. The rest of those will not come. They will bring handshake BBI friendly MPs from Western Kenya.
All right,
my friend, don't
play with
Herman. Impeachment.
And let me bring in Samson Cherargei and ask him that. Where are the numbers Herman is asking?
I think the way Herman is talking is so passionate, and this shows the level that he has incited the president until the president is intolerant. You saw today even the deputy governor of Kisii County and Silvana Osoro and the former chair of ODM were being harassed and arrested because they are the supporters of deputy president. And I think from the tone, even trying to bring an impeachment. Let me use an example, just one example. The other day when we went for Senate parliamentary group meeting in KICC, when they were discussing to remove Senator Kangata from the majority whip of the Jubilee Party, when we were in that meeting, we saw we were being ridiculed, we were being blackmailed, and even the Secretary General, we never signed any resolutions. The people who are in that room, the senators of Jubilee were there, all of them, most of them did not support the removal of Senator Kangata, but the Secretary General Raphael Tulu told us to our faces that the president has said Senator Kangata must go. And they went, and even if you ask today, Speaker Senate Lusaka, the Speaker of the Senate Lusaka, if you ask him today, where is the resolution? Where are the signatures? Where are the numbers, even of removing Murkomen, of removing Kika? They can't. If you go to the answer, there is no day that the Speaker of the Senate has given a detailed ruling as per the law on how these people are being removed. Because as my brother Manyora has said, these are directives of the State House where the party members are left helpless at the mercy of the president. Secondly, the numbers are there, and I can assure you, so we met over 150 members of parliament at the Hustlers Mansions last Monday. We have the numbers, and I can tell you today, even if an impeachment motion is brought, and that is why even Ayub Savula and the members of ANC, I don't know, Abu Bakr, whether they got excited because the president made some signs or signals during the mother's Musalia Mudavadi's funeral mother in Western Kenya. And I think the ANC got excited and they wanted to please the president and please everybody else. The motion they want to bring is that the ANC, Ayub Savula, should have brought if they had the numbers. And we are just saying that the president is well aware, even Raila Odinga is well aware. Even if the advisory, I don't know, Aman Manyora is talking from both sides of his mouth. He wants this country to go for referendum to pass a BBI, yet he wants the president to dissolve parliament so that we can go for a snap election.
No, he gave it as an option. He gave it as an option.
I'm just saying in theory. For example, let us imagine that the option Ayman has given us, for example, by telling us that we can dissolve parliament, and I agree there is advisory by the retired Chief Justice David Maraga because of a gender principle that parliament is not constituted as provided by the constitution and the president could dissolve. But I'm asking, which is a more urgent and priority matter? These fellows want to pass PPI or they want to dissolve parliament simply because of one man called Dr. William Samoei Kipchirchir Arap Ruto. Then it means they are fearful of him. Because if they want to dissolve parliament simply because of one person, then it is very interesting.
Cherargei, you talk of the impeachment. We are talking of the numbers. You are confident that you have the numbers to stop an impeachment motion? Should it be tabled?
I can tell you, and we have dared them, that bring it on, baby. We have the numbers. Let me on the floor of the House.
And just on the numbers, for purpose of clarity, 115 members of parliament need to endorse a document, a motion of the removal of the deputy president from office. It will need 233 lawmakers to vote in favor of that motion for it to successfully get to the Senate, upon which within 2 days the Speaker should notify the Speaker of the Senate, and the Senate hence will have 7 days within which it must convene and make a conclusion on that motion, and it needs, I believe, 45 senators to uphold the decision of the National Assembly for that to stand. Just for purpose of clarity and numbers, since we have talked about that. Caleb, I understand we are extremely out of time. Let me give you the last word.
Yeah, you know, my good friend Cherargei should also we understand that they're always spreading panic, that don't dare us, you know, if you try, we'll threaten. And they have done that in the past weeks. They started by the National Assembly and they said, dare remove the majority leader. And the majority leader was removed. They said, dare remove Irungu Kangata. And Irungu Kangata was removed. So they are always daring, threatening. And those are characteristics of a failing candidate. When every time if you are on a ballot, those of us who have gone through an election, all candidates are always saying, if you ask them, are you going to win that election? They'll tell you, in fact, I have no competitor. In fact, I'm the only one on the ballot. So every person will always exude confidence that it's not there. But truth be told, that I think the president has been merciful to these guys. I think President Uhuru Kenyatta must be a very good person, because if we had a different president right now, I think things could be totally different. He has just been very cool, calm, collected, but he has the power to act, and he can act anytime. Right. Now the problem is that the president can act anytime, and it will be painful to them.
All right, Caleb Amisi is Saboti lawmaker, Samson Cherargei is Nandi Senator, Herman Manyora is our resident analyst. Gentlemen, because of the interest of time, thank you for making time for us tonight. All right, the discussion continues online. Keep talking to us. The hashtag to use is TV47. The hashtag to use rather is Pandits Night TV47 on Twitter. Just a reminder of a breaking news that we earlier on briefed you about. Bonchari lawmaker John is dead. He died at the Aga Khan Hospital in Kisumu, making him the second lawmaker to die today following the death of Garissa Senator Yusuf Haji. And that brings